Happy Healthy Human podcast. My name is Coach Kara.
And I'm Coach Lauren. So this podcast covers quite a few things, but
Oh no.
So we got the 5 factors of health that we're covering ish. Hopefully you don't keep that. Movement, nutrition, connection, mindset, rest, and recovery. So today our topic, because we both are a little familiar with this, we were just talking about it, is overcoming the fear of failure in fitness. So strategies for pushing past self-doubt. But before we get into this, let's do a quick check-in. Also, I have a funny story from your husband of yesterday.
Okay, well, I'm really excited to hear it.
How you doing?
I'll start with check-in. This week, I've been so happy. I don't know if you felt this. It feels like springtime in LA.
I'm wearing shorts right now.
Oh my
and a t-shirt.
God. It's been so nice. So last night I went for a walk around Live Oak Park, which is like a pretty large park near my house.
Yeah.
And there's a track. And so my dog and I went for a walk, and there were like kids playing soccer and baseball and a bunch of families just sitting on the grass. And I was like, this is my favorite time of the year. It is so nice.
So good.
Yeah, it just made me happy.
Yeah. No, I go to Arcadia track a lot after coaching, and it was cute. I was walking in, and there was this little boy. He's probably like 4th, 5th grade. He's like, "How much are you running tonight?" I was like, "Oh, just like a couple miles." He's like, "Yeah, I ran 2.5 miles." And I was like, "That's awesome." He's like, "Well, have a good workout." And I was like, "What a
so
kind,
cute.
social young man." So
Do you think he recognizes you?
no, I've never seen him. He was just like chatting it up. Like, "Oh, you're going to the track?"
Oh, that's so sweet.
I'm going to the track. It was really cute.
That is so cute.
So, okay, my story from yesterday of Alfred, though, was I was asking question of the day for my class, and I was saying, what would be your dream job? And Alfred was like, to be a stay-at-home worker, and my wife would make millions, and
Dang.
that she would be the one providing for me as I stay at home.
Okay, Alfred. Alfred's my husband, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know. That's so funny. I never heard that anecdote before. So, yeah, I'm working on it. We're getting
totally.
there.
But then he could, like, make you food. He could just chill, clean the home.
Oh, my God, that's hilarious. Alfred is actually an amazing chef. So if he was just, like, my private chef and I was making millions, like, I mean, that would be ideal.
Totally, yeah. So I was, like, loving of all the jobs in the world. That was his dream job.
That's so funny.
So,
very Alfred.
He did make cake pops, I think, for our coaches hang on Saturday.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
There you go.
He's on his way. That's so funny.
He's making it, so that was really cute. So,
okay.
Should we get into our topic?
Let's get into it.
So, talking about fear of failure, all of that, where do you want to start? You want to start probably with younger Kara, or what comes to mind?
Yeah, let's do it. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but like growing up, sports was like a very large part of my life. So I did competitive cheerleading from kindergarten until senior year, and then when I was in college, I did acrobatics and tumbling for 3 years until I graduated. And I think both of those sports are very like perfection based. So it's like every scoring system is based on like how perfect everything is. And so with that, the coaching is like pretty brutal in the way that you're like spoken to and the way that they want us to look and act. And so for me, I think from like a pretty young age, I was 6 when I started doing cheerleading, a lot of things were just instilled of like, this isn't good enough. You need to change these things about yourself. There's this that you're failing at. There's these things that you can't do, and we need you to be able to do. And I think that from a really young age, it teaches you just like doubting your ability and really like who you are at the core. Because there's a lot of things that they want you to change, right? I will never forget when we were at practice, I think I was 14. And a lot of the girls on my team, we were all very thin, active, young women, and we were fit, right? We were able to do this sport and flip our bodies around. And my coach said to us, it wouldn't hurt any of you to lose 5 pounds.
Oh my gosh, which is like the worst age to say that
Literally
to.
the
We're
worst
so vulnerable.
age. Also the age of like the Special K diet. If you don't know what that is.
I did the Special K diet. I totally did that in like that middle school era where you don't lose any fat.
Yep.
And I would be like, I think it was like 1 bowl a day or 3 bowls a day, and that's
3 bowls of cereal.
And like a side of fruit. It's crazy.
Literally 0 protein.
I forgot about the Special K diet.
Yeah.
So bad.
I remember like girls on my team starting the Special K diet so that they could lose 5 pounds. Meanwhile, we were all between the age of 12
Babies.
to 18.
Babies.
Yeah, which was so crazy. But I think that really would just put in our minds, like, you are not good enough. Like, you're not, because we want you to look a certain way, act a certain way, have certain skills that you don't have. And so it's really crazy, like, getting into adulthood and having to, like, relearn how to actually, like, have confidence and actual, like, faith in yourself to be able to do certain things. Which I think we can get into, like, a little bit later about, like, what we've learned from that, but I want to hear about you, like, and things that happened in your childhood. Like, did you have the same experience, or?
Yeah, I would say very similar. There's a couple key moments. I remember, I'm trying to think, I did gymnastics, and I was, like, the only athlete in my family. Like, I loved gymnastics. I was doing gymnastics up to, like, I think in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 20 hours a week at times, which is crazy, but I loved it. I was just a very driven little one.
Yeah. How old were you during that?
3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So what would that be? Like 8, 9, 10 probably?
Yeah, something.
But I just remember seeing my friends start to excel in the sport, and then I kind of stayed the same because I was afraid to flip, and you kind of have to get to that point where you're able to do all the backflips and all the layouts and all of that, and I just, like, my body would not do it, probably for good reasons, like, don't fall on your head, you know? So I just, like, had to stop that sport, and I did go into, I started doing track and running, but I remember already being like, oh, I'm just not, like, athletic enough. That's why I couldn't excel in this sport. And so I started doing running, and I remember I was definitely, like, not eating enough, like, not taking care of my body, trying to actually, like, I remember trying to stay at a certain weight during middle school for image reasons or whatever. And I remember doing a track meet, and my dad was there, and I don't have the best relationship with my dad, and I was the last place in the 800, and he just goes, yeah, this probably isn't your sport. And it just, like, sunk in. I was so embarrassed. And I was so embarrassed. And sorry, we're laughing about something else. And I was just like, oh, I'm not an athlete. And so I remember quitting track my freshman year of high school, even though I loved running, and I just would just go to the gym and do, like, cardio. Didn't know how to lift, nothing. And so that was kind of like high school of, like, oh yeah, I'm not an athlete, but I like working out and I like moving, but that's all it will be in a sense. And I enjoy nutrition, but that's all I'll, like, figure it out. So yeah. So those key moments kind of get into your brain and stick with you.
Yeah. I think it also, like, depending who it comes from, it can have a much bigger impact for me. Like, the way that I looked up to my coaches at the time, which I still have the utmost respect for them. I know that things were said at certain points, but, like, they really shaped me into, like, the woman that I am today. But like, they were, like, my idols. Like, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be a coach like them. And when you hear someone say something to you like that, who you care about so much, you take it as fact just because you trust their words so much. And I don't know how you felt about your dad at that time. Like, you cared what he said.
I totally cared. And so I was like, oh, I suck. you know, you, like, when you're a little brain, you're just, like, you're not able to be like, oh, that's just, like, their own stuff of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, what can we do to help you become better? It's just like, oh, you're not good at that. You suck.
It's basically just like, quit.
Which is wild now because I, like, love running. So
seriously, Lauren's, like, the queen
I love
runner
running.
of the gym.
So it's just this, like, hilarious, like, those things as, like, little kids, and then you start that could be your narrative for years, which was my narrative for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be curious to know, like, were there these key moments that helped you to start overcome different fear of failure or this perfectionism? Because we're even kind of getting into some things of, like, perfectionism, you know?
Yeah, I think that, like, fear of failure, you know, I honestly, I think that working was something that helped me a lot to overcome that. I think that I've been lucky enough to work in companies that have really cared about taking care of, like, your mental health and understanding self-worth, outside of just being like, hey guys, these are, like, the sales numbers and stuff that we need to hit. But there were actually a couple of roles that I had before working at Reason and working at Reason now where you learn that, like, failing is, like, you're failing forward. Right? I think that's, like, a quote that
permission, basically like a permission to fail. It's okay to fail.
Yeah, and it's encouraged because that's how we grow. So when I worked at Lululemon, which I talk about all the time, like, I worked at a store that was a pop-up, and so we had a goal of becoming a mainline store, and we had to fail quite a bit when it came to learning how our team worked and how the store was going to function and getting to know our new community that we were in. We had to fail a lot with different events and things just to understand how to continue to build our store, and in that, it really taught me, like, oh, cool. it's okay to not do things right. You don't have to be perfect the first time, which is the opposite of what I learned growing up. You had to be perfect the first time and every time after that. So yeah, I think it's just been being a part of, you know, companies and communities that have allowed me to not be completely perfect that has really helped with that as I've gotten older.
Which not all places are like that. So I'm so thankful that you had that, because I definitely been at organizations where I had to do checklists in the beginning of the day and the end of the day and turn into my boss, like micromanaged. And it's the worst feeling of being micromanaged or not being encouraged. Like, it's okay that you make mistakes, because once you have that freedom, you actually usually excel if you have that freedom of making mistakes and getting feedback and all that. Because that's honestly, that's how coaching is, that's how athletics is like, you're gonna make mistakes and that's how you grow and you try new things, and we have no permission for that. It's like, how do you become better?
Totally.
So.
Did you have any like working experience where the company was like that? I'm just curious.
Like encouraging? Honestly, my most recent job right now has been like the best, I would say, is, so I would actually say like I've been in a couple really toxic work environments where there was like a lot of fear of any failure, any mistakes, and would be talked about for doing one thing wrong and have a conversation. And, but then I think what helped is I had probably like mid-20s learned about this idea of growth mindset and just it's okay to fail. And so I think that's how I've incorporated my leadership and the way that I live life is I'm like, that's how you actually grow is through failure. Like any of the greatest inventions have happened through thousands of fails, you know, or the greatest athletes, it's because they've failed and they've overcome those things. And so I just realized like there's such importance in failure, and then what do we do with the failure? So I think that gave me this freedom of like, even when I was in more toxic work environments, I kind of just like, and had a mindset bubble around me of like, I know I'm doing well, I know I'm growing, I know I'm improving my mistakes, so I don't need to let their toxicity or their control or their, honestly, usually it was like lack of resources, so they were just overworking us. I'm not going to let that affect me. And it did, but like to the best of my ability, I would just like try to protect my mindset and, you know, find outlets outside of my work. I'm like, my work is not my identity, you know, that's not my everything. My who I am is not just as a worker. So, but I've been in a really healthy culture where I am now, where they trust me. And I think trust helps a lot in a work environment when you feel trusted, because they trust that I'm going to do my work, I'm going to do it well. So I feel like I'm always getting encouragement. They're like, dude, you're killing it. And it's just so nice to know, because I'm actually enjoying my work.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, totally. That reminds me of like whenever I went through the internship program at Reason, where, you know, you're learning like so much information week over week that it can be really overwhelming, and you're like, will I ever be able to coach the way that I'm like learning to? But that moment when like, for example, like I was past my very first client I was allowed to work one-on-one with, especially when it came to nutrition. Yeah. That was such a like big confidence booster, and it really took away any doubt that I had about like, will I ever be ready to actually do this? So I'm like, oh no, like the people that I really care about in my life are telling me like, you are ready for this and you can take this on your own.
Yes, so you need those voices.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people say that like you shouldn't listen to what other people say, like you should have your own self-confidence, but sometimes you actually do need the validity from other people.
Yes,
that you're doing a good job.
Both.
It can be really hard to step outside of yourself and look from like an outer perspective. So like finding those right people around you to tell you when you're doing things right and not can take away so much doubt that you have in yourself.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely need those teams of like encouragement. And then sometimes though you do almost have to like forage and go forward, and then from there like figure it out.
Totally.
So yeah, I think even when I wanted to become a CrossFit coach, not in the health industry at all. I'd done CrossFit 2012 and so on, and I loved it. I was like, I'm obsessed with this. It has gymnastics, lifting, cardio, and it's always different, and there's always more challenges, and so I just became obsessed with CrossFit. And then I didn't do it during the pandemic, just because my work schedule and I wasn't near a gym, so that's when I was doing more my long distance running and my races. But I was like, during the pandemic, I'm like, what job would I want to do other than being in the education system? And I was like, oh, I want to become a CrossFit coach. And so I literally just called up CrossFit gyms, and I was like, can I intern for you? I want to become a CrossFit coach, and like, I'll just become a member.
Like literally just cold calling a gym?
No, cold call gyms in Pasadena. And then finally the gym was like, yeah, sure, we have an internship program, like come with us. But I remember then entering in, people are like, who's this girl? Like this rando girl that wants to become a coach that like is just like restarting CrossFit. And thankfully I was able to like, I just was like, no, I want to do this. Like this sounds so fun. I'm so passionate. I think I can figure it out. And so I just like dug my heels in of like learning, interning, all the doubt. Like there was definitely people that pushed back on who I was, and I had so many times I was like, I want to quit, this sucks, like this is so hard, or I was like, I'm not a good enough athlete. But I just knew, okay, if I keep failing and I want this so bad, I'm just gonna keep learning and growing. And thankfully I had a coach or two that were really like believed in me, like you said, and poured into me and give me time to like answer questions. So I think that helped build that confidence before I came here, you know?
Yeah. Guys, Lauren cold called Reason. Or
I did to just meet with people.
And
met
you
with
and I
Luke.
spoke on the phone.
Yeah, I wanted to learn. I was calling gyms in the area just to learn more about coaching because I wanted to grow. And I like cold called you all, talked to you. You connected with Luke. I met with Luke. He's probably like, who's this girl? And then months later, I did a drop in and I was like, oh, I'll never see that gym again. And then months later.
But it's really wild because like had you not just called us randomly one day, like you wouldn't even be working here. Because the only reason we know
I'm on
you,
Instagram.
Yeah, we don't know you from Instagram.
This girl's
You're not a
sketch.
influencer.
Who is this girl?
It was just funny because, like, seriously, without you having the confidence in yourself to be able to reach out, we wouldn't have met you. And literally, like, we needed a coach, and I think you were like one of the first people to pop into the staff's mind of who to reach out to, and like that literally would not have happened without having that confidence.
So basically just cold call. I'm joking.
So just like, just
call people up, use a phone. Yeah. But I think it was the idea of like, what do I have to lose? You know, if people could just like, oh, that girl's interesting, or, you know, whatever.
But do you feel like you had like a turning point in when you started gaining more confidence?
I think it was like my mid-20s, and I realized I was like, this mindset shift of like, I don't have to do things perfectly. I don't have to be the best.
Yeah.
As long as I have passion, I have some grit, I'm okay with like not caring what people think about me, then I can get to where I want to go. And I still have struggles. There's things that I'm like, I want to do that I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. But I'm just like, but I love learning and I can change things up and do things differently. Mm-hmm. So maybe, I don't know, maybe. What about you? Like, what have been some things that you've overcome when you were maybe afraid of, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm now doing it?
Yeah. Well, I would honestly say like starting coaching.
Yeah,
as well.
it's so
I think
intimidating.
That was a really big turning point because coaching puts you in a really like vulnerable position where you have to continuously be learning new things. You need to stay on top of, you know, basically like continued education as a coach because there's nobody standing there pushing you to learn more and do more. So like when you become a coach, you really have to take matters into your own hand to continue to learn. And we work at Reason where we are gifted a lot of time with our head coaches to learn from them, but you really do have to continue to push yourself literally every day to be in an uncomfortable position because you need to hold conversations that are not super comfortable with clients.
People come with all their moods.
Yes, you deal with a lot of different personalities.
Not all bad. We have amazing members.
We do. We love them. But I think that actually did allow me to stop doubting like who I am as a person and a coach. I think that coaching is one of those jobs where you really like don't escape it when you go home. Like it's really just like a part of who you are because you have to live every pillar of coaching for yourself, or else how are you gonna help other people with that?
Yeah.
So that was a really big step, but I think that it just taught me that to learn security in like how I live and how to teach that to other people, and just gaining more and more experience working with new people and putting myself in those places where maybe I doubt if I could help someone out of a certain situation. Like that all together has helped me just gain more confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Have you worked with many members that you've seen have those fears or doubts? Because I can think of different members I've had to work with to help them build confidence or help them get over that self-doubt in nutrition or in their athleticism. What does that look like?
Yeah. I think that, well, one, we try our best to like really closely track like certain goals at the gym, right? When we think of someone that is trying to lose weight, for example, we literally just talked about this today. Setting really small like micro goals can help them to overcome the doubt, because once you hit a bunch of micro goals, it might not even feel that exciting, but to look back after 3 to 6 months of working with someone and be like, no, look where you were when you started compared to now, that's when they're like, oh my god, like I doubted that I was ever going to get to this point.
Yeah.
And they did it, and it was challenging, and there was a lot of learning along the way, but that alone can help them to understand like how much you can overcome just by setting really small goals and working every day, chipping away at it.
Yeah, definitely. And I find like when people are able to get like excited about what they're doing, there's a buy-in, it helps on those harder days, because we're all gonna have hard seasons, hard weeks, and so those who are feeling like, no, I'm just gonna keep showing up even when I don't feel it, and those are, I feel like they see the results through that consistency. But I do think there is like a self-belief. You have to believe like, okay, I'm gonna keep getting better, I'm gonna keep improving.
Yeah. And I think like one of the most powerful things you can do is just like speak it into existence. Like if your goal is that you are going to be someone that comes to the gym 3 times a week, you tell yourself, I am the type of person that comes to the gym 3 times a week.
So good.
I am the type of person that eats vegetables at every single meal.
Yeah.
When you tell yourself that, it starts to take away any doubt in who you are, because you are becoming that person, or you are that person. You're stating it that you are.
Yeah.
So because you're a
There's
person
power
that
in
eats
that.
vegetables at every meal, you don't skip eating vegetables at a meal. So certain things like that can just be really powerful. I think that you mentioned that you like to journal about things. Maybe not so much about like, I don't know, I'm talking more like, it's kind of like manifesting, like speaking things into existence. You might not do that, but.
I mean, I'll do it different ways. Like, I definitely will, of like, I'm a good coach or I'm confident. I'll definitely talk myself in it. I've been doing lately, I have a big whiteboard I just bought, and so I will write out what I want to see myself do for the week, and some of it's personal goals, and some of it is literally like health goals that I'm wanting for the week. And I realized last week I did all of them, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I wrote it all out, but I was just, the repetition of seeing it and then scheduling it, that really helped. And I know there's
awesome.
Yeah, I was like stoked about that, because it's not always the case, and it's okay if it's not the case. Then you reevaluate, okay, why did I not follow these goals or these health goals or whatever. But I think there is something of like, how do we keep instilling that confidence in ourselves to try new things, to go after new things? Because I think what people do is they get stuck. They just get stuck in their mindsets. I mean, I was stuck for 2 decades of like, I'm not a good runner, I'm not an athlete. So how do you get people out of that? And you see people, they'll live the rest of their lives being like, oh, I can't lose weight, or I can't lead, or I can't do this. And it's like, how do you undo those messages, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes time to undo the messages.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It makes me like sad to think about the fact that there are a lot of people that literally die like not knowing their self-worth.
Yeah.
Right? And like they just live their whole life thinking that like they're not the type of person to do X, Y, Z. But the reality is, whatever you tell yourself that you're gonna be, like you can literally become that starting right now.
Yeah, it's a value for yourself, right? Taking time for yourself. Something that helped me realizing, like, I was like, am I being selfish for working out this much or taking care of my nutrition or thinking about it? And I realized, oh, the more I'm able to like value myself, it actually helps me value other people. And I want to show other people they're valuable too by the way that I'm valuing myself and how I pour out to other people. Like, it's not an area of selfishness, and it's like, oh, I value myself, and so I'm going to value you and show you how to value yourself, even through like modeled in my life. And so I think there's like that both of self-worth that helps people and getting over of like, I suck.
Totally.
Which is so easy to do.
Yeah, it is for so many people. I love that. I kind of want to end it there.
Yeah.
I feel like we said what needed to be said.
I think we had some good takes here, and now you know Alfred wants you to make millions so he can stay at home, and you know.
I am a millionaire, okay?
You are. So. You are worth millions.
We'll figure it out one day.
So anyways, but I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. We did pretty good.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Coach Karen, Coach Lauren here from the Happy Healthy Human podcast. Stay happy, stay healthy.
Bye.